Okay, England have beaten the Czech Republic 1-0 at Wembley. A much improved performance over the performance we saw against Scotland, but goal scoring is still an issue. Harry Kane is still misfiring. Sterling hits the post very early on, and that's unfortunate. If that goes in, that might spark that we could have overrun the Czechs if that goes in that early. His goal comes on 11 minutes. Saka and Grealish are key in the build-up to that goal. And they were massive positive inclusions from the get-go in this game. Harry Kane, however, is still coming so deep to try and get involved in the play. He's not right, whether it's what's happening with the transfer speculation over his future at Tottenham, the managerial vacancy at Tottenham. He doesn't seem to be on the same level and wavelength as the rest of the team. Now, I know he's the national captain, but Southgate's got to have a tough conversation there, because we've got Calvert-Lewin on the bench. Rashford can play a little bit centrally if need be. Something needs to change in that regard, because while he was more involved in the game, he wasn't effective, in my opinion. He needs to be in the box when crosses are coming in. Sterling's the one who heads that ball in. That should be Kane heading that in. He had one shot on target. It took 3 games for him to force a save out of a goalkeeper. He's not at the races, whether it's fitness or distraction away from the field. So that's a conversation Southgate needs to have. First half good. Second half, they allowed the pace of the game to wane a bit. Some of the substitutions, well, I agree, giving Sancho a run out, getting Henderson 45 minutes, Harry Maguire playing the full 90. These are good positives. Players who have been injured or lacking a little bit of game time are getting some game time. But they did disrupt the flow. The game management needs to massively improve if England are to go far in this tournament, and goal scoring is still an issue. While we've kept 3 clean sheets, we've scored 2 goals. I mean, Sterling has scored 2 goals. And Sterling was a lot better in this game than in the game against Scotland. Grealish starting, I think, has helped with that. Saka, obviously, when he's running with the ball and making overlaps, that's brilliant to watch. That was aggressive play, good to see. It's just that game management in the second half needs to be better. All said and done, a solid performance. Got through the group, topped the group, which I think actually makes things easier. We're going to have to play a tough opponent. It's going to be the French, the Germans, the Portuguese, or even the Hungarians. Any of those sides, I think, could prove tricky. A big nation is going to go out in the group stage from that group. But 3 clean sheets, you can't argue with that. The performance was better. It is worrying, though, that we are not the finished article at this point under Gareth Southgate. He doesn't know what his best lineup is, and there doesn't really seem to be a plan B at the moment. This game, the Czechs were safely qualified as well, so they were going through the motions. They'd already qualified. They didn't play up to their potential. The Czechs are a very good side. They've never won at Wembley. That's a little interesting stat as well. Never actually beaten England at Wembley. I don't think we took the Czechs lightly, but I think we took the foot off the pedal in the second half. The Czechs, they're just playing out the 90 minutes. They don't want any unnecessary injuries or bookings. They weren't themselves as good as they could have been, and they are a dangerous team. But they put in a solid 90 minutes. Nothing overly worrying from the Czechs. But I think they're keeping their powder dry as well, knowing that they are qualified. But, saying that, England need to step their game up further. In the other game, Croatia have pulled one out of the bag to basically put themselves through to the next round with a 3-1 win over Scotland. Scotland, again in their history, failed to get out of the group stage. First tournament since '98, don't get past the group stage. That is an ongoing issue with Scotland. I think Steve Clarke is the right guy to take Scotland forward. The issue is that lack of tournament experience has counted against the Scots in this tournament, and they've only scored 1 goal. But England haven't scored much either. I think that's a concern as well, is the lack of goal scoring possibly being a bit of a hurdle that could be an issue going forward. We're not playing as well as we did in 2018. There's something not right in the England setup. I think it's to do with Harry Kane. I think it's to do with him being not at the races. He is the captain, but he doesn't really look in tune with the rest of the team. So we'll see what happens. A positive result, a much improved performance. Game management still needs to be better. And when the substitutions come on, could Southgate time them a little better? the players going off to coming on? Are they like changes? Does that change the formation? Does that affect the flow in the game management? I think Jordan Henderson coming on was a good substitution. It gives him another good 45 minutes. Maguire getting through 90 minutes is a good sign. And Saka and Grealish, they were instrumental in creating the goal. They were high energy throughout their time on the field. They've put their hand up to be starters in the next match, whoever we play, because they create problems for defenders. They create problems for defenders to solve, and they stretch the game. And we look better when we play with pace and quick movement. The second half, there was less pace there. The movement slowed, and the pace of the game slowed, and game management's key. But there we go. England topped the group. 2 wins, a draw, no goals conceded. So no goals against, which is a real positive. Only twice have we actually done that before, and one of those years was 1966. Again, in the group stage, we were slow burners back then. So historically, England can have slow group stages, but we won the first game at a tournament ever. So that is another interesting stat. Hopefully, they build into the tournament now. They've got a positive platform. They've got some lessons to learn, which I think every side should have. A good side should always go, we can always improve. We need to step it up again. Unfortunately for Scotland, they just were the weakest side in the group. Croatia have pulled it out of the bag. The Czechs, I think, kept their powder dry in this game. They made some changes. They weren't as intense as they could have been. They were solid opponents today, but didn't overly threaten Pickford's goal too much. I mean, Pickford had a couple of saves to make. This Czech had a couple of saves to make. But it wasn't the most intense game, but it was an improved performance by England. That is good signs, but there's still a lot of room for improvement. Thank you very much for watching. Place your thoughts below, and I'll have some more videos for you very, very soon.